Es geht hier vor allem um die Frage, welche territorialen Zugeständnisse die Ukraine bereit ist zu machen. Das ist aber eine Frage, die vor allem der ukrainische Präsident und das ukrainische Volk beantworten müssen. Das haben wir von Regierung. Und dann wird es möglicherweise zu Beginn der nächsten Woche hier in Berlin ein Treffen geben. Ob die amerikanische Regierung daran teilnimmt oder nicht, das hängt auch sehr stark von der gemeinsamen Abfassung der Papiere jetzt ab, die zurzeit bearbeitet werden.
And I now request Asuma to join us back and give us more into this. Asuma, what's the latest that we're getting?
Like you've also mentioned, you know, what's happening and what is planned for ahead for the talks with US, and something I would like to note here is that US President Donald Trump has been pushing for talks to continue. However, he has mentioned in his comments this week that he's not willing to talk directly with Ukraine as of now, because he thinks, in Trump's words, he thinks that it's a waste of time for now to talk with him right now. For the President Zelensky and US to talk directly, President Trump is pushing that there needs to be concrete alignment of European allies who are backing Europe, who are backing Ukraine right now, and everything needs to be aligned so that in the last stage, the final stage, where US President can come with and sit with Ukrainian President and finally finalize the proposal. As of now, we do not see it coming. We do see it coming, but that depends on how aligned Ukraine will be willing to sign this agreement, as well as something I would like to note that Merz has said that he will be meeting. And again, in his joint conference, he just mentioned that he will be meeting again alongside Mark Rutte and alongside Macron, as well as Keir Starmer again this weekend to discuss what happens with Ukraine. As we see, these talks have been going forward quite aggressively, as we see every week almost that these not E4, but the coalition of willing pushing ahead, and then the talks for EU's integration of Ukraine continues despite Hungary's veto. So we will be eyeing that on this channel, and also something to note here is that Sergei Lavrov, the Russian foreign minister, has also praised US's efforts, and particularly, of course, the envoys who were sent last weekend to Russia to hold the talks, particularly the son-in-law Jared Kushner of President Trump, and of course Steve Witkoff, the business person, who's both trusted allies of President Trump. And Trump sending these people, it kind of shows that Trump is hopeful, President Trump is hopeful that these will be moving forward, and we will be eyeing that. Back to you.
All right, thank you, Asuma, for updating us with that. And viewers, let's now move on to the next breaking. Russian Foreign Ministry spokesperson Maria Zakharova says that the Britain needs to disclose what a British soldier killed in Ukraine was really doing there, accusing London of helping Kyiv carry out acts of terrorism. Meanwhile, Britain's Ministry of Defense says that the soldier, Lance Corporal George Woolley, died in Ukraine while observing Ukrainian forces test a new defensive capability away from the front line. Zakharova says that the British government should not deceive its citizens by claiming that British soldiers sent to Ukraine were mere advisors or instructors, accusing British forces of helping Kyiv carry out terrorist attacks and extremist tasks on London's direct orders. The British government, which is one of Ukraine's staunchest supporters, has never confirmed how many service personnel are in Ukraine, but the media has reported that a small contingent is supporting Ukrainian forces and is providing security to diplomatic staff.
После 22 года мы прямо сказали о вовлеченности Британии в конфликт на Украине и во все события, которые его сопровождают. И вовлеченность именно на стороне не просто киевского режима, а вовлеченность в теракты и экстремистские действия, которые предпринимает киевский режим и его головорезы. Вот эта самая информация, она стала для многих действительно в Британии шоком. Еще раз повторю, присутствие британских военных на Украине ни для кого не должно быть секретом. Это первый раз, когда британские власти публично подтвердили факт гибели своего кадрового военного в ходе украинского конфликта. При этом глава британского кабинета пафосно заявил, что этот самый Хули, дескать, помогал Украине в ее борьбе за свободу. Хотелось бы подробностей от них. Эти подробности, безусловно, появятся. Но Лондон должен честно признаться, а что же он там делал, этот самый их Хули. Складывается впечатление, что, возможно, кто-то там, на территории Британии, начал, так знаете, аккуратно готовить общественное мнение своей страны, общественное мнение в Британии к военным потерям на Украине, которые невозможно будет просто скрыть и скрывать.
And now moving on, NATO Secretary General Mark Rutte has warned that Russia could pose a major threat to European security within the next 5 years and urged NATO allies to step up their defense efforts. In a speech delivered in Berlin, Rutte expressed concern that many member states are not fully aware of the urgency of the situation, calling for rapid increase in defense spending and military production to avoid a war on the scale of conflicts endured by the past generations. Listen in.
We are Russia's next target. And we are already in harm's way. When I became NATO Secretary General last year, I warned that what is happening in Ukraine could happen to allied countries too. That we had to shift to a wartime mindset.
Moving on, in Lviv, European Union officials say that the European Union is moving ahead with technical preparations for Ukraine's accession to the trading bloc, despite Hungary's continued refusal to formally open the first negotiations. European Union Commissioner for Enlargement Marta Kos has underlined that Ukraine's path to the bloc remained clear, noting that member states have guided reform priorities, including rule of law and anti-corruption measures. Let's have a look at what he had to say.
Member states have given clearly the direction, and they have stated, all of them, nearly all of them, that this alignment should continue as a part of structures and predictable processes. Member states have provided guidance on which reform objectives they expect Ukraine to achieve in order to move the process forward.
And the Federal Reserve in the United States cut interest rates in another divided vote, but signaled it will likely pause further reductions in borrowing costs as the U.S. Central Bank looks for clearer signals about the direction of the job market and inflation that remains elevated. The Fed's benchmark rate stands between 3.5% and 3.7%. That figure marks a significant drop from a recent peak attained in 2023, but borrowing costs remain well above a 0% rate established at the outset of the COVID pandemic. Speaking at a press conference in Washington, D.C., Fed Chair Jerome Powell touted the rate cut as an effort to improve the labor market, but he suggested that central bank may be cautious about further rate reductions. Meanwhile, U.S. President Donald Trump has said that the Federal Reserve could have at least doubled their rate cut. Let's in fact listen in to what the two have said.
Conditions in the labor market appear to be gradually cooling, and inflation remains somewhat elevated. In support of our goals, in light of the balance of risks to employment and inflation, today the Federal Open Market Committee decided to lower our policy interest rate by a quarter percentage point. As a separate matter, we also decided to initiate purchases of shorter-term Treasury securities solely for the purpose of maintaining an ample supply of reserves over time, thus supporting effective control of our policy rate.
The head of the Federal Reserve is a stiff. And, you fight that. It's amazing. We fight that, and yet interest rates are going down, except with him, not too much. He did a rather, I would say, a rather small number that could have been doubled, at least doubled. And that's the other thing. I think the rates for the United States are always the lowest in the world, because without us, there is no world.
Now, Israel says it will be disarmed under the US-sponsored peace plan for Gaza, pushing back after Hamas leader Khalid Mashal suggested only a temporary weapons freeze. The ceasefire, ongoing since October 10, remains fragile as both sides report violations. Israeli spokesperson says that there is no future for Hamas under the 20-point plan, which demands the group's full disarmament and Gaza's demilitarization. Let's listen.
Under the 20-point plan, there is no future for Hamas inside of the Gaza Strip. They will be disarmed, Gaza will be demilitarized, and the people of Gaza will be de-radicalized. As stated directly in the 20-point plan, Hamas and other terror factions will not have any role in the governance of Gaza, directly, indirectly, or in any form. All military, terror, and offensive infrastructure, including tunnels and weapons production facilities, they will be destroyed and not rebuilt. Let me dispel the rumors and the misinformation that are in the media right now, who have reported that Hamas will not disarm. Contrary to your reports, Hamas will be
And viewers, intense border clashes between Thailand and Cambodia have resulted in at least 11 civilian deaths and 74 injuries, with significant damage to civilian infrastructure, including temples. The fighting took place at multiple locations along the 817-kilometer Thai-Cambodian border. Cambodia's defense ministry accused Thailand of brutal acts of aggression, including shelling and F-16 airstrikes targeting villages up to 30 kilometers inside Cambodian territory. Let's listen.
Include 11 civilian fatalities, including 1 infant and 74 civilian injury. The Ministry of National Defense spokesperson demanded that the Thai Army immediately cease all the aggressive actions, stop spreading false information that distort the truth, stop indiscriminate attacks, especially on civilian and civilian infrastructure, and stop attacks that destroy historical sites, which are not only the most valuable cultural asset for the Cambodia, but also for all of humanity.